Make better money choices. Choose a bank that takes your money seriously. Business Watch is brought to you by Nedbank.
All right, it's 1400 hours and you're watching Nedbank Business Watch. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Hope you're doing well. Lulu, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing all right. I'm excited about this particular program today because the government has received a significant boost to its revenue position, with Finance Minister Neil Reichenberg confirming that part of the more than 11 billion emalangeni expected from SACCO is going to help the country indeed.
All right, and on the program today, we'll be joined by Andile Masangan from Nedbank. For today's topic, we play a replay of a conversations we saw had with Andile a while ago on Nedbank's agricultural sector. Do stay with us. For now, let's go to our first story of business news.
Digital helps you make cross-border payments. Human gives you global specialists. Digital allows you to apply for a loan anytime, anywhere. Human connects you to credit experts. Digital puts you in control of your money, while Human connects you to wealth advisors. Digital allows you to freeze, unfreeze, cancel, and reorder your card. Human gives you that personal touch. Digital when you want it. Human when you need it. Get the complete private banking experience with Nedbank Private Clients.
Welcome back. You're tuned into Nedbank Business Watch, and now for our business news.
Coming in from the Competition Commission, which is amending its laws to strengthen its powers in regulating the market, particularly to address overpricing by large companies that end up overcharging Eswatini and creating unfair competition for small and medium enterprises. Now, this emerged during a meeting between parastatals and the departments under the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade, as well as the Portfolio Committee in the House of Assembly. The meeting was officially opened by the Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Honorable Manqoba Khumalo. Now, the proposed amendments are aimed at promoting fair competition, protecting consumers, and creating a more balanced business environment for local enterprises.
The Minister for Commerce, Industry and Trade, Honorable Manqoba Khumalo, says it has been observed that large enterprises already operating in the country often make it difficult for small-scale businesses to trade and compete effectively. The Minister says this is a challenge that government is hoping to address by coming up with solutions that will ensure local small and medium enterprises are able to participate meaningfully in larger economy without being stifled by bigger businesses. He further highlights that when a company acquires a certain establishment, it is important to take note of the rights of businesses that had been contracted by the previous owner. The minister says these are some of the matters that should be closely monitored by the Eswatini Competition Commission.
These different institutions, represented by their esteemed leaders, have seen it fit that they take time to really educate us on what they do, so that when they do execute their mandate, they can be held to better account. Ngidawubekisa nje ngibekise Competition Commission ukhanza kwekuthi kuba khona mergers nema acquisitions lentekako bese mase ngithengile noma sekukhona lo thengelo omunye sekuba khona labalahlekelwa ngumsebenzi. noma sekuba khona labane ama contracts ngeke abone emotion nje ikhuluma ngendzaba yase speak ukhanza ukuthi udathuma uthi uyayicatulula lenzaba ukhanza ukuthi inkinga takucala uma ngabe seyithengwa lenkampani lo thengako akasawa protect ema rights alabo labe bakhona mangabe kuthengwa noma ke lolo sa disadvantage sova kanjalo kuba netinkinga la even ukhanza ukuthi uma ufuna ukucala ibusiness ufuna nje ukucala ibusiness yamacanza kulukhuni kungena ngoba vele inale indzaba yokuthi sebayivalile laba manager noma ufuna ukucala ibusiness yetinkukhu kulukhuni kungena sekunabo maguzumbela lababili labathathu mhlawumbe mawuthi ufuna ukungena kulukhuni kuma standards tinkinga takhona siyatati ukhanza ukuthi kunetimvo lesibonako eveni iparliament lesibutako ukuthi hawu lokhu kufanele nikungena eveni sithini standard lekufanele ngabe siyasivumela eveni.
The chairperson of the Portfolio Committee under the Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Masipula Mamba, says they do not want small and medium enterprises to be shut out of business opportunities. He further says they are waiting for the minister to bring amendments to the competition law before Parliament, adding that they have already been informed that a consultant has been hired.
Sijabulela kuva ukuthi consumers bo SMEs baya protected. Bayavikeleka ukhona regulator wawo though vele sibona ukuthi kune room for improvement in terms of their footprint on the ground ukuthi emaswati lamaningi akade nje ukuthi mina ngiphuma ngibheka phi nangabe soma business mhlambe sekangihlukubetile and angade ukuthi ngihambe ngiyokhala kubani maswati lamaningi nje ayahlala netintfo njengoba besichaza nje ukuthi yalo sinema materials lesinawo lo awukhanza ukuthi awekho ku standard but asade sidahamba sokhala ko kepha ke lokungijabisile kwathi ukuthi seyikhona ipolicy laba hleti password consultant sokhona lo takto belekelela abanikete nalamandla ukuthi bawende lo msebenzi ngiyacabanga nje ukuthi uma sisuka la kufanele indvuna igijimisa umthetho embili lo amenda lo mthetho wabo phinze ulethe le police eParliament etawusita le competition kwekuthi ibe nematinyo lamakhulu ekusebenta umsakade maswati lamaningi asetinkingeni tabo soma business labakhulu la evele lemaswati labathenga tinkampane batihlanganise kuqoshwe tinkampane letinzala bathenge konke emva kwaloko babuye bangasaholela tisebenti babuye bavale tinkampane babuye nje ba disadvantage emaswati but they are good at buying so ke sikatse ukuthi competition commission akangenelele kule tindzaba leto kutositakala lamaswati.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Eswatini Competition Commission, Sibonise Lizulu Simelane, says part of the Commission's mandate is to ensure fair competition and trade among businesses.
Lokusho ukuthi nangabe khona inkampani lesikhanze ukuthi iphethe kabi letinye tinkampani eveni ngiyabekisa uyinkampani and ufuna ku supplier lenye inkampani ngema services lathide leyo nkampani leyo itakutshela ukuthi angeke ikhone kusebenzisana nawe because seyivumelene ukuthi itawusebenzisana nalenye inkampani in the market so ukhanza ukuthi kunana kule kubita ngokuthi ngema exclusive supply agreements ukuthi inkampani idecide ukuthi yona phela eveni itawusebenzisana nayinye inkampani sithini ngalele tinye tinkampani sikhanza ke ukuthi ema agreements la kanjalo ayalile mata live because kubanga iforeclosure lalamanye letinye tinkampani ikakhulu lama SMEs la sukumiswe ngemaswati abese awasakhoni wona kusebenta eveni because awakhoni ukutfola lama contract la khona ukuthi bakhone ku provider ema services.
She says there are times when competition is restricted by the current law from intervening when large enterprises overcharge consumers or prefer buying from a single supplier, practices which may result in unfair competition. She states that the proposed amendments to the law will give the Commission more powers to effectively regulate and promote fair competition in the country. Reporting, Nelson Langamandla, Fuminkosinzi Nisambabane.
The Minister for Commerce, Industry and Trade, Honorable Manqoba Khumalo, has met with the chairman of the Aden Gajalia Business Group, Abu Hadmov Hedibedi, and his technical team, Chari Midorov and Isha Kendar, at the Hilton Garden Hotel. The meeting focused on facilitating Aden business entry into Eswatini. Aden will be establishing locally, focusing on offering national identification systems, biometric systems, and establishment of a cables manufacturing plant for local and export markets. Through the ministry's guidance, the visiting delegation from Turkmenistan has engaged in high-level meetings with key stakeholders, including government officials, marking a significant step towards the establishment of Aden Gajalia in Eswatini. All right, and that's it for our business news. This is Nedbank Business Watch. We continue.
Let's be our economist after the break. When we return, stay with us. Welcome back. The Eswatini National Youth Council is building momentum towards Youth Connect Eswatini. The first day of the Youth Connect Eswatini engagements commenced with a courtesy meeting between the Ministry of Sports, Culture and Youth Affairs, the ENYC, the UNDP Eswatini, and TRECO, the consultant Basiru J, and the Youth Connect Gambia focal person who is in the country to support the establishment of Youth Connect in Eswatini. With the country in the process of tackling youth unemployment, what does this development mean for the youth of Eswatini? We are now joined by our communications officer from the Eswatini National Youth Council. I believe that is a conversation that has to follow with Sibonga Gonke, who will help us really understand the insights on this latest development. Thank you so much, Sibonga Gonke, for making time to join us on the program today. Maybe just let's begin by really understanding what Youth Connect in Eswatini is and why Eswatini is looking to establish it now.
Thank you, Sifiso. Thank you for the opportunity. The Youth Connect Africa initiative, maybe it's important to first mention what Youth Connect Africa is. Youth Connect Africa is a program that is designed to help us really accelerate Agenda 2063 by empowering young people across the continent. So it is an initiative, a continental initiative that has reached over 12 million young people in Africa. And as Eswatini, we found it really, really important and imperative for us to adopt Youth Connect Africa as well. And since last year, we have been having engagements with our government, and fortunately, government did approve that we also establish Youth Connect Eswatini, which now will be a national platform that will connect young people, as the word suggests. Youth Connect, we seek to ensure that we connect young people to opportunities in entrepreneurship, employment, opportunities in innovation, leadership, and skills development. As Youth Connect Africa is what Youth Connect Africa seeks to achieve. So we have been supported by the UNDP Eswatini, which UNDP has really been championing and leading the efforts, technically supporting us to ensure that we establish Youth Connect Eswatini with complementary support from UNFPA.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest problems and challenges the country is still looking to respond to and mitigate is the issue of youth unemployment. How does this program, this Youth Connect, seek to really bridge the gap between young people and economic opportunities?
Thank you, Sifiso. So what we seek to do with in implementing Youth Connect, we want to create a platform that will bring together government, development partners, the private sector, and young people themselves to ensure that we address these challenges as you have rightfully mentioned. So one part of Youth Connect Africa is the Youth Connect e-accelerator. It's just part of the initiatives under Youth Connect where we seek to ensure that young people participate meaningfully in cross-border trade. So these are some of the initiatives that Youth Connect seeks to implement and ensure that we have young people participating in cross-border trade and we have young people exporting their products and ensure that we also develop the country and the economy of the country.
I mean, I think you also highlighted yourself that Youth Connect has quite been implemented in several other African countries and implemented in a very, very successful way. What lessons, success lessons, is Eswatini drawing from those countries?
Thank you, Sifiso. So we have noted that in other countries, maybe just to mention that in country currently, we are hosting Mr. Basiru Jaye, who is Youth Connect Gambia focal person, and he is also working for the National Youth Council in Gambia. So he is here to help us really see to it that we learn best practices on Youth Connect and also ensure that we also get more information on how best we can implement Youth Connect Eswatini. So we expect to also ensure that we really empower young people through Youth Connect. In Africa, it has been, and we want to ensure that the outcomes are really help the country to move forward and our young people to move forward and ensure that we young people become active contributors to economic growth and the national development.
First engagement brought together a couple of stakeholders. You mentioned of course, you mentioned the consultant and a couple of other consultants as well as international partners. But also we learned that there's also the United Nations Development Program, popularly known as the UNDP, as well as government that is very, very, who is very involved in this particular program. What role will each of these stakeholders bring or play in establishing Youth Connect Eswatini?
Thank you, Sifiso, for the question. So Youth Connect Eswatini, we believe that it is built on a partnership approach, and each stakeholder will bring their unique strength to ensure that the program succeeds. And this, we speak of technical support, we speak of financial support as well, because we want to believe that it is important that we also resource mobilize and ensure that we have the necessary resources to undertake all the tasks that are related to Youth Connect. So also government as well, because in our meetings, we will also engage government where we want to believe that government provides policy direction, leadership and coordination, which will ensure that Youth Connect aligns with national development priorities and it really responds to the needs of young people. So also the UNDP, as you have mentioned, the UNDP will bring its technical expertise. In actual fact, UNDP is supporting Youth Connect in most of the African countries that have adopted Youth Connect. So UNDP brings with them technical expertise, the global and continental experience, and also resource mobilization support. And they will help us strengthen partnerships just as much as the other development partners will do. We are looking at engaging UNFPA, we are engaging the European Union, and we really want to ensure that our development partners and partners nationally will help us to move Youth Connect forward.
Yeah, I know. Many young people in Eswatini, they hear about initiatives, but they often struggle to access them. How does the ENYC ensure that Youth Connect reaches youth, particularly youth in rural areas, as opposed to, just focusing in youth that is in urban areas?
That is a very important and valid concern, Sifiso. So as the ENYC, our role is not only to advocate for opportunities for young people, but also to ensure that information and opportunities, or information about opportunities, reaches to all young people, even those at grassroots level. So through Youth Connect, we are working on creating an inclusive platform that will bring together the development partners I've spoken about, the government, and ensure that we reach to all young people in the country and ensure that young people access the opportunities that will be brought about by Youth Connect.
And of course, I want us to get into entrepreneurship, because we know that the ENYC is very passionate about entrepreneurship as a mitigator for youth unemployment, but also as an important driver for economic growth in Eswatini. You present it as a solution to unemployment, rather. How will Youth Connect support these young entrepreneurs who have ideas but lack funding, but they also lack mentorship or access to markets?
Thank you, Sifiso. So through Youth Connect, we want to encourage the culture of innovation. We have been attending Youth Connect, the Youth Connect Africa Summits, where we have seen best practices. We have seen innovative youth empowerment programs. So we want to also encourage a culture of innovation, entrepreneurship, and self-reliance amongst young people. So we, as I've said before, there is what we call the Youth Connect E-Accelerator that will ensure that also our young people from Eswatini are able to participate in cross-border trade and ensure that they get their products out there and ensure that they also make a living from such opportunities.
And I'm particularly interested in the Youth Connect Gambia focal person who is currently focusing on the establishment process. What insights have they brought or they have shared so far, that could benefit us as the Kingdom of Eswatini?
So one of the insights that Mr. Basiru Chaye has shared is that the success of Youth Connect really depends on strong partnerships and stakeholder ownership. So it also depends on proper visibility and ensuring that information gets to the people and it gets to all partners involved. So he also emphasized that Youth Connect should not be seen as just a program for one institution, but we are a collective. So he says that it should be seen as a national platform that should bring together the different stakeholders and ensure that we accelerate the agenda of Youth Connect. So he also shared lessons from Gambia and other countries on the importance of having a clear implementation framework and a resource mobilization strategy, strong coordination mechanisms, and ensuring that young people are actively involved also in shaping the program. And it is what we have been doing, actually. We have involved young people since inception. We have had engagements with young people in just coming up with a framework that speaks to the young people, framework that addresses the needs of the young people on the ground.
Very urgent program that you are spearheading. Thank you so much for your time. Exciting times for the youth of the Kingdom of Eswatini with Youth Connect Eswatini and the many opportunities that they ought to already prepare for in order to benefit fully from this system and program. Let's go for a net break. Sonny, let's be in discussion after the break.
live selikhulile la kaNgwane live la kaNgwane belinalo ligama lele livele likhona mandulo kepha ke kwahamba kwabonakala ukuthi live liyashintsha litoze likhone kubonakala ukuthi libitike kahle kwase kuthiwa iSwaziland emaveke onke lebekanawo lamagama lefanana nalela lakithi ase abuyela egameni lemlando nathi ke laSwatini sinalo ligama bekunene kwekuthi live leSwatini useSwatini namuhla ke sithi asikumemetele ukuthi sekutawuvele kiko konke la kubhaliswa khona kuvele kusale kubhaliswa ukuthi sekuseSwatini njoba singemaswati nje singabe sibita ligama lesingede salikhona nekulibita kahle bogogo nalabo bomkhulu abangakatholi ithuba babe solo bashwambuluta ukuthi sesitawuvule sadiwe ngekuthi silive leSwatini kungasasilo leSwaziland bekunene
To all the viewers of Eswatini TV in the kingdom and beyond. Eswatini TV is regulated by the Eswatini Communications Commission through the Broadcasting Code and Broadcasting Guidelines. Under these instruments, the station commits to broadcasting information and news that have been fact-checked, programs and content in respectful language with no elements of hate speech, violence or sexual activity. If you hear any unsuitable content on this channel, you have a right to voice your complaints with the station management. Should you not be satisfied with the response or action taken, you can escalate your matter to the Communications Commission at PO Box 7811 Babani. Call 2406 7000 or send an email to info@escom.org.za. For more information, visit www.escom.org.za.
All right, welcome back. The Minister for Finance, Honorable Neil Reichenbach, has said part of the over 11 billion emalangeni expected from SACCO receipts will be used to settle the outstanding 85% civil servant salary adjustments. Now, these SACCO receipts play a huge role in ensuring that government maintains cash flow and continues its operations effectively. Now, how will using the SACCO receipts to settle the outstanding salary review impact government operations? Economist Sanile Sbiya joins us now to unpack this development via our Zoom video link. Sanile, thank you so much for making time this afternoon. Always I appreciate having you on the program. Maybe let's start with, Neil indicating that part of the more than 11 billion emalangeni in SACCO receipts will be used to settle the 85%, which is outstanding, by the way, in salary review adjustments for civil servants. From your perspective as an economist, what does this decision really signal?
Thank you, Mr. Ngumalo, and good afternoon to you, and also good afternoon to the viewer. I think for me, if we go back to just tracking the minister's appearances over the past week or so, I think what I liked more was when he said probably we overpromised, and I think now that is actually quite prevalent, or it's quite overt in the fact that he wants to utilize SACCO receipts just to cover that. Now, if I take you back to what SACCO receipts I generally used for, so generally that's the money that government would use to pay off salaries for civil servants and, just to run the business of government. So right now, if you are then saying you're taking this amount of money and you are using it to settle a debt, last year's debt, so now that means going forward, we are seeing an issue that we are going to have to be dealing with in terms of those pressures on the finances, on the government finances, on how we are going to finance the government of business, the business of government going forward, Mr. Nguman.
Of course, SACCO revenues are often viewed as a critical source of government income. How significant are these receipts in supporting government cash flow and day-to-day operations?
So SACCO receipts actually do make up over 3% of the government's budget, right? So now that is quite a huge chunk, which is something that we need to ensure that it does come in, and that's what we use to make sure that as a country we're able to stay afloat and we're able to run the government of business on a day-to-day basis. So yes, and as much as we are seeing an overall decline in the overall contribution of SACCO revenues into the government fiscals, but overall they still play a critical role. And if you look at, for example, if you look at the way our debt to GDP ratio tends to move, it tends to move with the SACCO revenues. Right now in July, when the revenues come in, we do expect the debt to GDP ratio to just somewhat decline as government would offset its obligation with the central bank. But then immediately after, you then also expect to start seeing the number pivoting back to that initial level. So now that's where we are saying, Mr. Ngumalo, we are a bit worried, because right now, if you have this trend coming in and you are going to take, I think right now it should be around 1.2 billion. This is going to go into the back pays and everything. So it's going to be a lot of money. So how then are you going to move on and make sure that we are supporting government and we're able to keep the business of government going on for the next 3 months until the next tranche? Now that is, those are the issues that we need to think about, and it somehow shows and signals the impact of a burgeoning wage bill on the cash flow situation of government and actually on the fiscal situation of the kingdom. Because right now what this has done is essentially taken the wage bill to over 3% of the to over 30% of the budget, and we are now seeing the minister really struggling and struggling to balance the books to ensure that we are able to get to keep that promise and at the same time keep government going. And remember, government has a lot of obligations that government needs to be taking care of. So we'd always expected that the SACCO receipts were going to be this buffer that allows the government to just pay salaries and use the rest to actually just run the business of government. So right now we are watching with anticipation and in terms of how we are going to continue running the government in this current year, and probably we are looking at 1 or 2 budget support loans, which is really not a good thing.
Yeah, and of course, beyond the decline, which you say should be concerning, first of all, I should ask, is that decline going to be in the immediate? Is it going to be an immediate impact, after settling the outstanding salary review? But also I want to ask, on the topic of immediate impact, what settling the outstanding salary review is going to have on civil servants?
So if we settle that, Mr. Ngumalo, what this means is government is at a position where I would say we started in a somewhat of a negative situation in terms of salaries. So that means government is coming in, and the government already owes the civil servants this money, and then we expect that going forward, government should pay that off. And what it means, the immediate impact, Numalo, is government is foregoing this money, this 85%. Once you take it and you give it to the civil servants, and as much as the civil servants are going to feel better off, but the fiscal space is not going to feel better off, because that is $1 billion that you do not have anymore. And this is $1 billion that the minister really needs to spend. You know that already we are working with a 3 to 4% GDP deficit as a percentage of GDP. Now that means we do not have much scope to continue borrowing as a country. What we need to do is to try to make sure we manage that which we have, because as it were, we do know that the debt to GDP ratio is now at around 47%. And, if we are looking at yet another budget support loan, so now it's going to take us way above 50%. So now that's going to be a bit of a problem as a country that we need to address. So yes, as much as it is good for civil servants, but not for the fiscal space. Now that is not good. And then also another thing that we need to consider when you talk SACCO receipts, is the fact that SACCO receipts tend to dip for 1-2 years, and then somewhat show an increase for the next 2 years, as and when we do the readjustments and all of those things. So yeah, it is a situation that says we are going into a very tricky year, 2027, which ought to be the last year in this dip, and then after 28, 29, then we're going to start seeing that increment again in terms of readjustments and in terms of how we have performed as a country in terms of our trade. So now those are the things that we need to somewhat be looking out for as a country, and make sure that we can somewhat balance those.
Increased disposable income often translates into increased spending. Could this payment provide a boost to local businesses and economic activity?
In a linear world, Mr. Ngumalo, that is what you would expect. But right now we are in a situation where we have high inflation expectations, and these high inflation expectations are somewhat making it a tad bit difficult for consumers to spend their money. And secondly, remember, this is money that ought to have come in, say last year, but it's coming in this year. So in my view, this is money that civil servants have already committed, and that's why they need this money to come through. And then most likely what we're going to see happening is just a bit of an increase in debt as people get more exposure. They get more room in their, what we call the 33% range. So yeah, since this is something that was supposed to come in last year, Mr. Ngumalo, I do not see it having much of an impact. And remember, this is going to be a snapshot kind of expenditure, something that just says we are paying you. These are your dues for the last year, then we are done with you. So now that's not going to create a sustainable momentum in terms of consumption, but we are going to see that snapshot changes in consumption as and when we see that money coming in into July, and then we should see that coming through in early August. But it's not going to be sustainable, so it's just going to be a one-period jump.
Sbia, thank you so much for your time. Could have had this conversation for an hour, but really appreciate those insights, and they cover a lot of ground. We'll see you again on the next one. That's Analyst Sbia, our economist on SACCO receipts and that 11 billion Malangeni. Let's go for a net break. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to the program. economy. Industry evolves, so too must the financial solutions that support it, right? Now, Nedbank's Eswatini Agriculture Division tailored finance solutions designed to meet the unique as well as the unpredictable demands of agribusiness, from renewable energy financing and tunnel farming support to short-term working capital and asset-based funding. The bank is positioning itself as a key enabler in the agriculture sector. Now, this afternoon, we unpack these financial solutions with Andile Masangane. He's been here before. He's Business Development Officer at Nedbank Eswatini. What is available? Who qualifies? And how can you as a farmer or your friend who is a farmer tap into these opportunities? The conversation starts now. Very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the program again, Andile. It's an interesting conversation because it ties in very well with what the country wants to do, particularly this financial year as well as, the previous years. They like to say, imfuyo, insila emaswati, or insiga emaswati. I beg your pardon there. Yes. I stand to be corrected, but agriculture is the bedrock of our economy as the Kingdom of Eswatini, and you are right at the vantage point. You are driving all these solutions. Talk to me about the finance solutions that are available with Nedbank.
Thank you so much for having us, Mr. Ngumalo. Once again, siyabonga, siyavusela nasemakhaya. It's true. You're right in saying that agriculture is the bedrock of Eswatini's economy. And as Nedbank, we believe that we need to cater our solutions as per the market demands. And some of those market demands dictate that we need to be innovative in our solutions. So we do offer innovative industry finance solutions, which speak to renewable energy specifically. And in that regard, we offer solar financing to assist farmers in lowering cost, as we've seen over the years that electricity costs have risen. They've gone, in fact, from maybe being the third highest cost of production to one of the main costs of production. So we offer solar financing to assist our farmers in lowering those costs and being able to produce year in and year out. We also offer shade netting and tunnel farming for those farmers under crop production, where they can be able to maneuver past the adverse weather conditions that we sometimes have.
Right.
So those are some of the innovative finance solutions that we have, as well as others. We also speak to short-term finance solutions within the agric space. And these speak to more or less the seasonal nature of agriculture. We understand that there are some times where you'll have maybe a shortfall in cash and when you need that quick loan. So we offer those type of solutions in the form of overdrafts and production loans, again, to maintain production all year round. Yes, we also have, as well as specialized financial solutions for those that want to grow. We as Nedbank also believe that in business you should be growing as well. So it's very important that we cater to those clients under agriculture as well. And to that end, we speak to asset-based financing, and that can speak to the procuring of movable assets for farmer companies, for our agri clients as well, and that can speak to maybe getting at that tractor that you need, that will help you lower costs, that vehicle to help with the ease of operations. We also have medium-term loans that speak to maybe expansion, as mentioned or as alluded to earlier, that we encourage growth in agriculture. We encourage growth even outside of maybe the agricultural space. But speaking to agriculture, we offer medium-term loans to offer finance solutions to farmers wanting to extend maybe their farm or wanting to extend their orchard, maybe under citrus as well, or buy even new stock for those under livestock production. And maybe lastly, we can speak to long-term finance solutions where we speak more, again, about diversification. You find that some of our clients want to maybe branch into logistics when they're in the sugarcane industry. So we offer that type of solution, maybe to get that vehicle for you to also help in lowering costs again as well. So these are some of the finance solutions that we offer at Nedbank, Mr. Ngoma.
Very comprehensive solutions, because part of the modern day problem is that more often than not, people who say they offer solutions, they offer not necessarily a comprehensive or an umbrella of solutions that is all-encompassing. But I'm glad to learn that, you start from solar financing and, of course, the energy crisis right now. In fact, it has been a growing debate in the country that we are confronted by a very, very frustrating and concerning, energy crisis. So I think it's comforting to learn that our agriculture sector sort of has solutions towards, these problems that continue to persist. But also, you spoke of shade netting. I think that's quite brilliant, considering the climate change impacts that we continue to see every day. And of course, the short-term finance solutions, as well as the other specialized finance solutions that you speak of. I think that is very important. And I'm sure our viewers at home are happy to learn about these solutions. So you do want to, visit your nearest Nedbank branch and learn about these solutions and get the help that you need as soon as possible. But the conversation continues. There's a lot to unpack. Sectors of agriculture need support. Let's speak about that, because I understand the different types of production, from crop, livestock and poultry production, etc., etc. Speak to me about, which sectors of agriculture indeed need this support.
We try to look at it from a holistic point of view, Mr. Ngumal. So we don't limit ourselves maybe to a certain sector within the agricultural space. We do have clients under crop production, which in that area we speak to maybe sugarcane farmers, horticultural farmers, and maybe conventional crops as well. We also have livestock production clients, where we also speak to, again, poultry, your cattle, as well as piggery. So we try to look at the whole agricultural space and cater our solutions as to the needs of the client at the time. We also have clients under forestry. As well. We do understand that it is part of agriculture, so we do cater. We do have finance solutions to cater to that as well as value addition. We understand maybe as Nedbank that not everyone will be going on the farm to farm, so there has to be maybe that niche that you find yourself and fit into that. So we look also into the value addition of the agricultural products, where we speak to the client and have a sit down with them and understand what they would like to do, how they would like to do it, and the time frames in which they'd like to do it as well, to cater that solution to them specifically. So we look at the whole agricultural sector and try to cater our financial solutions for all those.
I appreciate the fact that the solutions value chain seems to be, very interlinked. The production process, speaks to some of the solutions that you mentioned earlier. I think me and you, before we came on air, we spoke about the fact that you came all the way from Big Bend, where it was sunny and hot. You come into Mbabane, you find that it's raining. And I do see how, shade netting could be very, very necessary in many parts of the low veld. But also, you speak about the crop production and, sugar cane, very, very dominant in the low veld as well. I don't know the fragmentation of, crops according to regions, but I do know that it's different per region because of, the climatic changes there. So we really appreciate that you sort of support literally every aspect of the production. But how do people access these finance solutions? That is the big question.
Yes, thank you for that question, Mr. Ngumalo. Well, we currently have our team or our agric department housed in Matsapa under the wholesale department. So clients can walk in there straight. However, we do have officers in different branches within the country. Myself, as you mentioned, that in Big Bend, we also have someone in Simonye who also looks at agriculture. And as well, it doesn't mean that just because we're in these maybe 3 places at the moment, the clients can't get help if they maybe sometimes go to Tlangano, for example. You know, there are officers there that can be able to assist our clients as to per their needs. So we try to cater as well to all our clients from different areas within the country. At the moment, we are housed where there's a bit more of the activity in terms of agriculture in Eswatini, which is Big Bend, as you mentioned. There's the mill as well as in Simonye. So we can be found in Matapa, we can be found in Big Bend or any other branch in Eswatini.
Okay, thank you so much. I do want us to, say these numbers, these contact details. I do see here that under the contact details, under Matsapa Lifestyle, there's Mkhululi Khumalo on 7808-8169. Big Bend branch, I beg your pardon. There's Andile Masangane, who's here in studio with us. You can find him on 7802-9869. And then there's Bushlen in Simunye branch where Mduduzi Dlamini will be of assistance there on 7802-9846.
Yes.
That's right, Adil.
Yes, this is true. You can contact us on those numbers. We are available to assist farmers at any given moment. So farmers clients actually should feel free to come to the branch or contact us via these numbers. We do have requirements that we ask of the clients when they come through.
Right.
That is for new and existing clients as well. In terms of new clients, we do require that you have a detailed business plan as well as cash flow projections. And for existing clients, we require that you have a business proposal and as well as your annual financial statement, as well as the cash flow projections. And for all clients, we also require that you have the statutory or mandatory documents. Company documents, yes.
Andile Masangane is the business development officer under Nedbank Eswatini. We have covered everything that you need to know. So the onus is on you now. Do get in touch with them on the numbers that we have already mentioned. Thank you for staying with us. Let's go for a net break. The show continues, Masbuya.
Welcome back. We are on our final segment, the market analysis with Sifiso Nsibande from Nedbank Eswatini. Very good afternoon, Sifiso. Thank you for coming through this afternoon. We are in the middle of the year, June 2026. What is the status of the overall global economy?
Yeah, thanks for having me once again, Lulu. Yeah, so this is June, and the issues that we've been seeing since February are still continuing, which has a very huge impact on the global economy as a whole. And the projections that are actually coming out are showing that this is going to be one of the years where you're going to have a very weak GDP growth. Global GDP growth is going to be low. We did see some numbers coming out of certain economies. For an example, South Africa, they recorded a 0.5% growth for the quarter. which is Q1. But we are thinking that Q2 is actually going to be even much worse than what we actually saw because the geopolitical events, the war in Iran has impacted the economy largely on the second quarter of 2026. So which means when the numbers come out during Q3 about Q2, it's not going to be looking good. And if you look at other economies as well, we are actually seeing the same thing. The numbers that are coming out are actually disappointing. So projections are showing that it's going to be a very, very bad year, 2026, as a result of what is going on. And there's no end in sight, really. I mean, we keep hoping that there's going to be improvement. They're going to be signing a peace treaty, but it's not happening. They're still striking each other, and we don't know how long it's going to go. And if you look at everything else that's happening, you find that prices are actually very volatile. So it's going to be a very tough and difficult year for the economies.
So let's take a look at figures today, starting off with currencies this afternoon. What is happening today?
Yeah, so if you look at the currencies, especially the top three, which is your euro, GBP, and also the dollar, they all strengthened against the rand. So the rand was actually coming under pressure for all three of them. If you see, all of them are all positive going up, which means the rand was actually under huge pressure. Why? Because every time there's some uncertainty, every time there's geopolitical events, the global, the emerging markets suffer. So South Africa falls into the basket of emerging markets. So investors sort of tend to sell off emerging economies or emerging markets. So South Africa is actually coming under pressure mainly because of that. I mean, if you look at the GBP, it was actually 21 just last week. Now it's sitting at 22.1668. The USD, relatively, 16.56 up from 16.21 when it reported last week when we were here. The euro also was actually hovering at around 18.5. Now it's about 19.1314. And believe me, next week when we come here, we will actually be showing a different picture because of the activity that's actually happening, in the Middle East in particular.
Okay, so let's see what's happening with gold and oil this afternoon.
Yeah, so the story with gold is actually different today. Normally, people go for gold as a safe haven. But what you're actually seeing now is that people are worrying more about inflation rather than as a safe haven. So they are aware that with the unrest that's actually taking place in the Middle East, it's going to result into high inflation. And then high inflation results in huge prices. So what tends to happen is investors are not going for gold anymore because gold doesn't pay any interest, gold doesn't pay any dividends. So you are finding that there's a trend now moving away from gold into bonds, which are actually going to be paying high-yielding, interest as a result of the spike in interest rates. Because interest rates have started going on the upside, and we are expecting that to continue, for the foreseeable future. So that's what is really currently happening right now. And the oil is going to keep going up as well because of the obvious reasons. It's probably not the last time we are actually seeing the increase in fuel. We're going to be seeing more of those actually coming into play into the market.
Just lastly, in under 3 minutes, we take a look at equities this afternoon. So.
Yeah, so with equities, market investors are sort of desperate for positive news. Money must be invested somewhere. You can't keep money in your pocket. You have to invest money somewhere. So investors are actually looking for something to place money into. So we are finding that there's a lot of volatility. Even though there's volatility, we find that actually the indices are actually going up. If you look at the JSE, 111,000, this is actually than what we have seen even before the war, because they keep having this expectation that there's going to be an improvement, the war is not going to be forever, the peace treaty will be extended, and then the fundamentals will start, improving, or rather factoring into the equity. So that's why we are seeing, the JSE going up and then coming down. But as of over the last few days, we have seen the S&P 500 and also the FTSE coming under pressure because of the surprise, fights that started happening between the US and Iran, which is quite unexpected because they've said this is a peace treaty. So now everybody are saying it's a so-called peace treaty because there's no peace that's actually happening. They keep striking each other, and everyone is blaming the other, and we actually don't know what's going to be the outcome of it at the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Fiso, for that analysis. And this was our final segment for today's program. If you've just joined us, worry not, you can still watch this episode on our YouTube page, Eswatini TV. And for more details on the Nedbank Agricultural Solutions, do visit any branch countrywide and do visit their social media on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We'll see you again next week, Wednesday at exactly 2 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Make better money choices. Choose a bank that takes your money seriously. Business Watch was brought to you by Nedbank.